Good day, everyone, and once again we are back together. All right, so we're looking at some geometry, and as I said, I'll just be throwing questions at random, just trying to cover as much of paper 2 as possible. So yeah, if you haven't subscribed, please just make sure that you're part of the family. And yay, we are over that 100,000 mark, eh? So let's just get going and look at this question. So they've given us there. They say in the diagram we've got the diagonals of a parallelogram KLMN intersect at P. So they say NM is produced to S. Okay, so remember, every time they say that something is produced, they simply mean it forms a straight line. Okay, so they say R is a point on KL and RS. Okay, so that also means it is a straight line that cuts PL at T. All right, and then they say NM to MS is 4:1, so that's the ratio there. Okay, so in this case they tell us that NL is 32 units. Okay, and in this case we know that TL is 12 units. Now, ladies and gents, we're going to try and fill in as much of the information as possible that they have given to us. Remember that they said NM to MS, that is going to be 4:1. So it means that if MS is X, then it means that, if MS rather is X, then it means that NM will be 4X. Okay. Now remember, when we talk about a ratio, that isn't the length, but it simply means, in this case, as we said, it's the ratio. That's the basic unit, or the basic standard in this case of their length. Okay, or the relationship between their length. Okay, right. So now we know that we've been given NL, which is that entire side. All right, they told us that that is 32 units. Okay, so we know that's 32 units, so I'm going to draw it in blue there. Okay, and they've also given us TL. Okay, I'm going to take another color, so we know that TL is 12 units. They've indicated it there. All right, now, so first of all, they want us to determine with reason the value of the ratio of NP to PT in its simplest form. Right, now, something about, parallelograms we need to always keep in mind, right? They told us that the diagonals in this case intersect at point P. So please remember, first thing, what do we know about parallelograms? We know that opposite sides are equal, so it means this side is equal to that side. It means KL is also equal to NM, right? Secondly, remember that the diagonals of a parallelogram bisect each other. So in this case, that would mean that NP, okay, should be equal to PL, all right? Because it is a diagonal of a parallelogram. But what it also means is that, I'm going to try and do that in another color. So in this case, it means that KP, okay, right, let's try and use another sign for that. So KP in this case would be equal to PM. Why? Because they are diagonals of a parallelogram. So we need to know all of that information, right? All right, now let's try and answer the question. So they said we should determine the ratio of NP to PT, right? So first of all, right, if I look at that NP, do you see that NP is going to be a half of NL? Remember, we're given the length of NL to be 32. That's the blue part, right? So in this case, NP, so that's 9.2.1. So I know that NP is equal to NL over 2, okay? And I can say that the diagonals of a palm, okay? So remember that the diagonals of a parallelogram bisect, so it means that the value of NP should be equal to 32 divided by 2, which is 16 units. Okay, so now that we know that NP is 16 units, remember we're looking for NP to PT, right? Now, if you think about, so it means also that LP is also 16 units. So if you look at that, so we know that from there till there, the center there, or where they bisect, in this case where they intersect, so that's also going to be 16 units. But think about it, we know that LT is 12, so that's going to be 16 minus the 12, so it means that PT would actually be 4 units. Okay, right, so I know that, so let's rather say LT plus PT. So LT plus PT is equal to the whole of PL, right? PL. But we know LT we were given, right? To be 12 units, or TL, okay? That's 12 units. And we know that PT is the one that we want. So that's PT is the one that we want. And PL, remember that PL, in this case, we said it's also equal to 16 units, right? And in this case, by the way, remember, because the diagonals of a parallelogram bisect. So what does that mean? It would mean that PT is actually equal to 4 units, right? Now, if you think about it, we are taking NP to PT. So NP over PT, this is 16, right, which we got there, divided by 4. And remember, when we talk about a ratio, we're talking about the basic, of their relationship, right? The basic size of their relationship, in this case. So 16 goes into itself, 4 rather goes into itself once, and into 16 it goes 4 times. So it means that their ratio is 4/1. So we can put it this way, that NP to PT is 4:1. Okay, right, so we've answered that question. Right, now they say to us, prove with reason that KM is parallel to RS. So we want to prove that KM is parallel to RS, right? Want to prove those two sides to be parallel to each other. Now here's the thing that I want you to note, okay? Look at this. We found the relationship. Let me just do this in a different color. All right, so we found the relationship in this case. Let me take that turquoise color. Right, so in this case, we found the relationship of NP to PT to be 4:1, right? But notice, at the same time, the relationship between NM to MS. Do you see that it's the same? It's 4:1. And in this case, so it means that NP over PT is equal to NM over MS, right? So in this case, so I'm going to say, well, 9.2.1.2, okay, 9.2.2. So NP over PT, all right, is equal to, is 4:1, okay? So we've already proven. But we also know that we were given NM over MS and M over MS, which is also 4:1. That was given, right? And so what does it mean? It means that NP over PT is equal to NM over MS, right? Now, please note this. In this case, if we look at triangle PNTS, right? I'm going to try and highlight it. So if we look at that triangle there, right, we've realized that the sides are proportional, right? So we can now use the proportionality theorem that if the sides are proportional, then it means that the third side of this triangle in this case would therefore be parallel. All right. So remember that if the one side of a triangle is, if a line is parallel to a third side of the triangle, then it divides the other side proportionally. So in this case, we're going to say, therefore, it means that PM or KM rather, KM, so that whole line there, which is, so we're using that PM, but we know that this line is produced all the way until KM, so it's the same line. So it is parallel to RS since it is the same line. So we are deducing from that triangle that it means that TS is parallel to PM, so meaning that KM is parallel to RS. I hope that makes sense, ladies and gents. So I'm going to say, so in this case, which is 4:1, so therefore it means that KM, okay, yeah, this thing refuses to respond, is parallel to RS. To RS, why? This would be the converse of the theorem 1, right? So this is the converse of theorem 1. That is the third side of a triangle. If a third side of a triangle, or rather, if a third side rather is parallel to, or if a side is parallel to the third side of a triangle, then it divides the other side into it divides the other side proportionally. Hey, I'm mincing my words today, hey? Right. So I hope that makes sense, ladies and gents. So in this case, we have proven, by the way, I'm just lazy to write the conclusion of that. Now, they said we should, they said if NM is 21 units, okay, so now they say NM is 21 units, okay, and in this case, they say determine the length of RL, okay. So now we're going to look for the length of RL, okay. So we're going to look for that length over there. Now remember, because we just found out that these sides are parallel, maybe let me try a darker color. Right, because we found out that these sides are parallel, right, I can also do the very same thing. Now I can use this triangle here, all right. I can use this triangle, triangle LKP. First of all, what do I know? KL, that side, okay, would actually be equal to 21. Why? Remember, opposite sides of a parallelogram are equal. So it means that KL is 21 units, right? Remember, I'm looking for RL, isn't it? But I also know that this side is 12 units. Okay, so I'm looking at LT. But in this case, we also found from the triangle, right? We said that we've got LT over PT. All right. So I'm gonna start actually with the first triangle, if you don't mind, and then obviously just try to superimpose it onto the other. So I know this side is 21 units. Okay. So I can find this side. Okay. Right. Remember, it's 4:1, so I can actually find the other side. So I can now say that, okay, let's try and take this. So we can say nm, remember we said nm over ms is equal to 4 over 1, right? So in this case, I can find the side ms quite easily. So remember that we've got nm, which is equal to 21. So that would mean 21 over ms would be equal to 4 over 1. So if I want the side ms, okay, that would be, okay, so you can cross multiply. Ms times 4 is 4 ms, and 21 times 1 is 21. So it means that ms would be equal to 21 over 4, right? So it means that the length of the side, we could have actually just predicted that it's a quarter of this 21 that we got there. So that would be 21 over 4. Now, please remember that NP, we already know the length of NP, isn't it? Because they had told us that NL is 32, so it means that NP is 16, right? So now we can find the small side in this case. Oh, by the way, we could also have gotten that because we know that it's 4:1, isn't it? So if this side is 16, right? So we know this one, we found out that it's going to be 4 units, right? Because their ratio is 4:1. Okay, so I know that this is going to be 4 units, okay, which is PT, right? Remember, we did say that it's 4:1, so this side must be 4 times, or rather this side must, actually NP must be 4 times PT, so this must be 4 units, right? But now we know that entire length is 21, right? So it means that this entire length as well, so remember, we know that this entire length is 16 as well, right? So what does that mean to us? We can now find that out, right? We can say, okay, so that is going to be that entire length. So we are taking proportionality. So we can say NL, actually, so in triangle LKP, right? I know that LP, now note, I'm taking that entire side, LP over PT or TP, right, is equal to, again, that entire side over the smaller side. And by the way, we're looking for RL, so maybe it would be even better if I say that entire side divided by LT. Yeah, so let me rather take over LT, right? So I'm going to say that entire side LP divided by LT, okay? So in this case, remember, LT would be 12 units, right? That would be equal to that entire side, which is 21. So that's LK over RL, okay? Which is what we want, okay? So now we know that LP, that's 16 units, over, in this case, LT, we know that LT was 12, right? That's over 12, is equal to LK. By the way, you are supposed to show the reason for that, right? That it's parallel, it's a side that is parallel to the third side of a triangle, right? So in this case, that's 16 over 12 is equal to, so LK, we said LK is 21 over, right? So we're looking for RL in this case. So we can now cross multiply and find the value of RL. So I'm going to say 16 RL is equal to 12 times 21. Okay, let's try and find that. 12 times 21, that's 252. Okay, divide both sides by 16. Divide by 16. And I get RL. If you want to put it in decimal form, that would be 63/4 units. Okay, right. I hope that you understood that portion. All right. It does take quite a bit of doing here, but nonetheless, you'll be able to survive if you know your proportionality theorems. All right. Thank you so much, ladies and gents. I will be throwing in this or that as we go along. Hopefully, you are able to survive this portion. Okay. And please just look out. We'll be doing quite a bit of geometry. Please look at the playlist as well. Otherwise, from me, your favorite uncle, I'll be seeing you guys next time. Sharp, sharp.